My cousin called and said, "I need you to say you've never seen me drink." I showed the court videos of her passed out while her kids cried. Stephanie hesitated for just a second too long before saying no. Victoria pulled out a police report from 8 months ago. Stephanie had been pulled over at 3 p.m. on a Wednesday with both kids in the car. The officer had noted the smell of alcohol, but Stephanie had refused a breathalyzer test. She'd been let go with a warning because the officer couldn't prove impairment without the test. Stephanie's face went red as she tried to explain that she'd had wine with lunch hours earlier. Victoria asked why she'd refused the breathalyzer if she was sober. Stephanie stammered that she'd been afraid and didn't understand her rights. The judge made a note, his expression unreadable. After lunch recess, Victoria called me to the stand. I swore to tell the truth with my hand on the Bible while Stephanie stared daggers at me from her table. Victoria asked me to state my relationship to Stephanie. I explained we were cousins who'd been close growing up. Victoria asked if I'd witnessed Stephanie drinking around her children. I took a breath and said yes, multiple times over the past 3 years. I described Christmas 2 years ago when Stephanie had brought the kids to my apartment for dinner. She'd arrived already drunk, stumbling and slurring her words. By 8 p.m., she'd passed out on my bathroom floor while Lucas and Maddie watched television in my living room, asking when Mommy would wake up. I described another incident 6 months ago, when I'd stopped by Stephanie's house unannounced to drop off some mail that had been delivered to my address by mistake. It was 2 p.m. on a Saturday. I'd found Stephanie unconscious on the couch, an empty vodka bottle on the coffee table, while Lucas tried to make sandwiches for himself and Maddie. The little boy had been so matter-of-fact about it, telling me that Mommy was taking a nap and would wake up later. I'd stayed for 2 hours until Stephanie came to, and when I'd tried to talk to her about the drinking, she'd screamed at me to mind my own business. Stephanie's lawyer tried to discredit me during cross-examination. He suggested I was biased because Nathan had asked me to testify. He implied I was exaggerating or misremembering events. He asked if I had any proof of what I was claiming. That's when I pulled out my phone. "Actually," I said, "I do." The courtroom went silent. I explained that after the incident 6 months ago, I'd become so worried about Lucas and Maddie that I'd started documenting what I saw. I had videos. Judge Henshaw asked to see them. Victoria connected my phone to the courtroom's display system. The first video showed Stephanie's living room from the perspective of someone standing in the doorway. The timestamp read 3:15 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon 3 months ago. In the video, Stephanie was sprawled on the couch, clearly unconscious, her mouth hanging open. Lucas sat on the floor next to her, shaking her arm and saying, "Mommy, wake up. Maddie's hungry." Maddie, just 4 years old, stood by the couch crying. Lucas kept shaking his mother, his small voice getting more desperate. "Mommy, please wake up. We're hungry." The video ran for 2 minutes. Stephanie never moved. Finally, Lucas gave up and led his crying sister toward the kitchen.